Hello and welcome back, this is ProTaleDev back with another Dungeon Farm Tycoon game, and what we're going to be looking at is kind of the things I've been working on behind the scenes. There isn't too much because I've had a little bit of things going on, so I've not managed to work on this game too much. However, we have made progress, so I'm going to go over what we've done now. So first thing I'm going to show you is on our add monsters, we now have the health bar. I don't think I showed this last time, but we've actually got the title. We've actually got a level and we've got an effect of what kind of effect they'll do. This is going to be on all our monsters. This is just an example of what it's going to look like and just something I want to show you. And the monster health is working and their damage is working, but their levels and things haven't been set up yet, but they are ready to be worked on. Also, another thing to mention is that the day and night cycles have now been fixed a little bit better, so now the intensity does work and it does switch back when supposed to. So I'm not going to show it because I have to wait until it's night time even if I speed up the game. So you've seen the day and night cycle already. Just some issues when coming back from the dungeon where the lighting wouldn't work. Now it is. Of course, I've moved the player health into the center now, so now the player health is going to be in the center, along with the left and right side are going to have the equipment. So when you go into a dungeon, you will have equipment, so you're going to have potions on the left, and you're going to have your sword on the right, as well as whatever kind of armor you've equipped. Obviously they'll have different effects, and we'll go over that in a future video. So the monster script and monster stats are here. They are ready to be scripted. I've done all the values, the integers and things, and they are ready to be working, so that will be sorted out for the next video. Hopefully you'll see a lot of monsters after they spawn in with these kind of health bars and things, as well as our player who should be able to attack. Currently the player is able to attack. There is the animation of the sword and things like that, and they do damage. However, at the moment they have just a default base damage because they just start off with a dagger. We do have all of our different weapons that we're going to be able to use, which will have those random effects that you can equip in the character menu, which you just saw a second ago. So that was our character inventory, and I'll show that in a minute. I also am in the middle of coding a dungeon stats system, so but that's still in development, so I'm not going to show that yet. The dungeon manager UI is also finished. Let me just turn off the character UI in the inventory just for a second while I show off the dungeon manager. So the dungeon manager is now finished. Whenever you place down a dungeon, it will add to the dungeon manager list. So if I click this, it will bring up our dungeon manager, and we've got it. We can scroll down and we have 6 slots, so 6 dungeons is all you're going to be able to have. So it's up to you with which ones you want to go with. The reason I've done this is because the dungeons are going to cost quite a lot, and I want players to be able to not have too many dungeons all over the place. They're really going to have to, if they can have so many, the players will more than likely not strategize as much. So here we go, no dungeon available, so purchase a dungeon. We do have a dungeon here, so this dungeon you cannot enter with your player. You actually have to buy and place one down. For now I might actually add another option to lock them, so that you can't use them on this little tutorial island, but for now you can. So I've just placed that one down, and now we've got another dungeon. What we can now do is we can actually go into our dungeon manager, and we can see that we actually have a dungeon. So we have Cavern Creek, which is their custom name, as well as our dungeon size, which is small, and we got a description which we've not done yet, and we've got our edit dungeon, exit dungeon, start adventure and end adventure. Now we won't be able to actually do anything with these other buttons because they'll just be disabled until you've actually edited a dungeon. Now what we're going to be able to do is we're going to be able to go into our dungeon and edit. Let's close off our manager, and just like before we can edit our own dungeon. This hasn't changed too much since the last video, but we can connect them up, and then once we're done we can end it. So if I just click this, come out, we can now click our manager and then exit the dungeon. So once we exit, we're back out. You can see that our world is still the same. There's this lighting glitch, but don't worry about that. And what we can do is we can go and start our adventure. So we start our adventure, and the manager will close automatically every time we switch. I just haven't done that yet, but we can also go into our dungeon. The global light is still showing at full because while I was editing and testing the dungeon, I've just allowed it to stay at 100% intensity, but it is working, I can assure that. It's just that I'm, like I said, just have it 100% while I'm testing, so I can definitely see everything from a distance. So once you've done that, you can go back to the manager and end adventure. Once you end the adventure, you're back out here, and as you can see, we're working again. Still some lighting issues, but again, I'll fix all that in, and I've added it to my bug list, so I'll be sorting that out next time. But yeah, we could go back in and edit if we wanted to. We can also go and start our adventure again and come back out. So that is finished. So that is the dungeon section that I've done. So the next thing I'm going to show is the crafting UI. So in the crafting UI, let's turn it on. And what we're going to be able to look at here is our ability to craft our own potions. So that's our character UI. Let's get rid of that. I haven't decided on how to enable the UIs for the manager, the crafting, and the character inventory yet. I might just have one single button rather than multiple buttons, but I haven't decided. Maybe have this as like a complete inventory where there's just tab buttons that you can just click to switch. Again, haven't decided yet. So now we're in the crafting table, and this is actually just going to be the alchemy table. I think I'm going to change this to, because it's just strictly potions at the moment. But we're going to have two other different crafting table styled inventories where you're going to have to be able to either create potions, swords, or should I say weapons and armor. So this is just the potion one that's done at the moment. And what you can see here is that we've got an image here that's just locked with blank page. That'll all be changed later. But we do have a scroll bar and a bar here. The scroll bar will allow you to go down to lots of other potions when I include them. We've got a bar here which is a charge bar for when it's crafting, so if we're crafting an item we have to wait a certain amount of time. We have obviously our close button. You just notice that this text has just immediately appeared. That is because I highlighted over a crafting button and I've got a selection function that is running, so every time I select over one of these it'll say something different. I haven't finished the text or the descriptions yet on the others, so that's why it's not working. But as you can see, we've got a weak health potion. We can make some of those. At the moment it's requiring a certain amount of rating. It's actually set to 0, and that's because this isn't set up yet, but it's actually set to anything over 0, which we have. We've got 147 out of 1,000, so we're fine. And we've also got here a special new resource that will be in caves, in dungeons, and that is the crystals. So right now we've got 1,000 crystals. I haven't got an icon for it yet, so I've just put this mine. So I've set it to 999 for the crystal resource, and we haven't got an icon, but as you can see, we can just craft whatever we want. So if we craft some health potions, it should, yep, it's starting to work. You should see the crafting text behind this as well. And as it progresses and finishes, we'll have an extra health potion. So I'm going to make a couple of these, so I'll speed up. Another thing to mention is you can close this off and do something else while you're waiting, because it does continue its progress. Let's just enable it again. And the reason it continues is because the script is actually on our crafting manager, which is our new manager script that I'm running, which is one of them is for our crafting table, another is for being able to use potions, so it's our equipment. So we have our equipment and our equipment crafting, and this script is actually going to run multiple different crafting table or our different equipment crafting table UIs at once, and it's all going to come back to the equipment. Just to keep it tightly in two different scripts so that saving will be a lot easier later. So if you just wanted to know where it's running the script from, it's from this new manager that we've got. Okay, so we've now finished making some crafting. We've managed to craft three weak health potions. So let's check that out in our character UI. So our character UI is also controlled by its own manager, so it's our character inventory. Again, it's just more neater than having our game manager hold everything. I do like to have the game manager hold a lot of the game related game rules and things like that, but I think it would be just too much. So I've have them in their own manager. You may recognize the UI design as well. I've based it off Turtle Trials a little bit, but obviously with a lot of improvements. So anyway, getting back to this before I ramble on too much. if I disable the crafting and then now go into our character inventory, you'll see that we got our character inventory very straightforward. So we can equip our different potions or swords slash weapons and armor. In here we'll be able to change our character model. At the moment it's not set up, but we can change. As you can see here, we got 3 weak potions, so this is already set up. So yeah, 3 weak potions. If we click this, we can actually switch to other potions. So you got the weak power, weak strength, weak health, weak hunger, and weak hydro. So the way this is going to work is you'll have a health potion, pretty explanatory. It'll just heal yourself of a certain amount of hearts. Weak one, probably only 1 heart, we'll see. Then we have our weak hunger. There is going to be hunger related stuff in this, just to try and keep you on your toes and kind of give you a bit of a time limit on how long you can spend in a dungeon before you have to cash things in, and that's what the hunger's there for. Then we also have our hydro. It's going to be water as well, and these are going to tie into things like fatigue and stuff that might force you out the dungeon. So yeah, our weak power potion is going to be to do with ranged weapons, and now our strength potion, you guessed it, is for melee, for close ranged weapon use. So these are the potions that we're going to be using, and these all actually work. They're all finished coding, but there's no weapons and armor in the game yet, so these need to be completed still. But what we'll do is we'll actually equip them. So let's go back to our health. We know we want to equip our health in, so let's do it. So let's equip our health, and as you can see on our left, we've got our health equipped. I could do with having maybe a number there, but I'm not too sure. And what we can do is, now we have our weapon equipped, we could go into the dungeon. It's not finished, of course, but what we can also do is, these are our equipment slots. What we can do is we can also clear it. Before I do that though, what you'll notice is that there are these 3 slots, 2 slots, and a 1 slot. You're only allowed to equip 1 armor, 2 different weapons, so 1 which is ranged and 1 that is melee, and you can only have 3 different types. So you can only have a weak, a normal, and a strong potion. I've done this so that players have to strategize on what kind of effects they want. For example, if a player decides, oh, I'll just have lots of large healing, but then decide, oh yeah, well I'll have medium healing and small healing or weak healing, then you're just going to have a ton of healing and you probably won't die. So what I've done is I forced the player to only use a certain amount. There'll be a limit to how many they can use, but it'll be up to the player to choose what they go with. So let's say they have 5 as a limit on, let's say, large health potions. Well, if they do equip large health potions, they'll only be able to use it in this slot, and they won't be able to put any of the other large potions that could help them. They also won't be able to use any health potions for these either, so they'll have to choose a different one. This makes it so that there's a bit more variety in what they use. Also, I've only got 5 potion types in the game, but I'm probably going to have a lot more, and I might even have things like for heat resistance or fatigue resistance and things like that. We'll see a little bit later down the line. So as you saw, we've equipped the potion. Now we could use it, but I just want to clear it. So once we clear it, you'll see that it has an X on it. This X appears, and that's just me blocking off what you've done. So when you've cancelled it, we can obviously change them up, what is actually being equipped, and we can also remove. Like I said, it changes, so now you can't consume them. Okay, so there's still a lot of work to be done. There's still a lot of things that need to be worked on, and there is a lot of coding that has a lot of bugs in it. Naturally, the more coding I work on, the more bugs there are. So I'm going to have to do a bug fix at some point. But that is what I've got so far. Yeah, I'm a bit drained at the moment because of the heat wave that's going on in the UK, but I'm still trying to code and get through it, even though there's other things going on. So this has been ProTaleDev, and I'll see you next time.